Right now, in garden centers worldwide, millions grab plastic bottles of liquid fertilizer. We measure, mix with water, and pour, believing we're giving plants exactly what they need. But the $85 billion fertilizer industry is counting on you not to notice. You're actually starving your garden. We've been sold plant fast food. Seriously. Just pump nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium into dirt, they say, and you'll get massive harvests. Yet your tomatoes still get blight. There's a reason. There's a reason aphids swarm peppers and slugs devour your lettuce. In the late 19th century, farmers in Scotland and parts of northern Europe faced some of the harshest, most depleted rocky soils on the continent. They didn't have synthetic chemical factories, but they figured out a way to grow vegetables so massive, so incredibly resilient to pests and disease, that it defied the science of the time. They didn't use a chemical formula, they used literal dust. Today, I am going to show you the forgotten science of rock dust and how returning the Earth's oldest material to your garden will make your plants practically bulletproof. And stay with me until the end, because the exact material you need to do this is sitting in massive, ignored piles in almost every town right now, and the people who own it will probably let you take it for absolutely free. Let's bust a myth about NPK and dead soil. To understand why this works, you have to understand the great con of modern agriculture. 10,000 years ago, massive glaciers moved across the continents, acting like giant geological grinding stones. They crushed mountains into fine powder, leaving behind soils incredibly rich in over 70 trace minerals: iron, calcium, magnesium, manganese, copper, zinc. Plants thrived. But over the last century of intensive farming and gardening, we have extracted those minerals. Every time you harvest a tomato, you are pulling minerals out of the soil. And what do we put back? NPK. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Feeding a plant nothing but NPK is the biological equivalent of feeding a child nothing but pure sugar and steroids. Yes, the plant will grow fast. Yes, it will look big and green. But inside, it is hollow. It is structurally weak. It has absolutely no immune system. When a plant lacks trace minerals, its sap contains incomplete proteins and free amino acids. To a pest like an aphid or a caterpillar, that chemical signature is a neon sign flashing all-you-can-eat buffet. Pests do not attack healthy plants. Nature designed them to act as the cleanup crew for weak, deficient plants. The chemical industry created the deficiency with synthetic fertilizers, and then they happily sold you the pesticides to kill the bugs that the deficiency attracted. It is a perfect closed-loop business model. Now a Scottish breakthrough. In the late 1800s, as chemical fertilizers were just beginning their takeover, a few observant farmers and a German scientist named Julius Hensel noticed an anomaly. In areas of Scotland and northern Europe where local stone masons worked, or where rivers naturally ground stones together, the vegetation growing in that specific dust was astonishingly vibrant. Hensel published a book called Bread from Stones. He proved that adding finely crushed rock back into depleted agricultural land returned the full spectrum of those 70-plus missing minerals. His test plots produced crops that dwarfed chemical-fed fields. His vegetables stored for months without rotting, and most importantly, his crops were virtually ignored by pests. The chemical fertilizer industry, which was just finding its multi-million-dollar footing, realized the threat immediately. You cannot patent crushed rock. You cannot build a recurring subscription model on literal stones. Hensel's work was viciously attacked, his books were suppressed, and the concept of remineralization was buried under a century of chemical marketing. But the physics of it never stopped being true. Now for the shocking science of silica armor. This is where the science goes from interesting to absolutely jaw-dropping. When you add rock dust to your soil, specifically basalt, granite, or glacial rock dust, you are reintroducing a massive amount of a mineral called silica. Modern agriculture completely ignores silica because it doesn't make plants grow faster. But it does something much more important. When a plant's roots absorb dissolved silica, the plant doesn't use it for food. It transports it up the stem and deposits it directly into the cell walls of its leaves and skin. It literally builds a microscopic glass-like armor inside the plant's tissue. Think about what happens when a slug, an aphid, or a caterpillar approaches that plant. They are looking for soft, weak, chemically deficient tissue. When they try to bite into a leaf fortified with silica, it is the biological equivalent of a human trying to chew on a mouthful of sand and fiberglass. Their mandibles cannot penetrate the cell walls. Their teeth literally wear down. They don't die from poison, they simply leave. They abandon your garden to go find the weak, NPK-fed plants next door. You are not fighting the pests. You are making your garden physically inedible to them. At the same time, that silica armor acts as a shield against fungal spores, practically eliminating powdery mildew and blight. If this kind of forgotten mechanical approach to gardening makes sense to you, hit the subscribe button. We are building a community of people who want to stop fighting nature and start working with it. Let's get practical. Here's how to use it. So how do you actually do this? You don't need a degree in geology, and you don't need to overcomplicate it. You are looking for paramagnetic rock dust. Basalt is the gold standard, but granite and river rock dust work beautifully too. The only rule is to avoid limestone dust unless your soil is highly acidic, because limestone will spike your pH. Application is almost laughably simple. You do not need to till it in. In the fall, or a few weeks before planting in the spring, you take handfuls of this dust and broadcast it over your garden beds like you are dusting a cake with powdered sugar. Aim for about 10 to 15 pounds of dust for every 100 square feet of garden space. Then, you walk away. You see, plant roots cannot eat rocks directly. This is where your soil biology takes over. The earthworms and the microscopic soil bacteria literally eat this fine dust. They pass it through their digestive tracts, breaking it down with enzymes and excrete it in a bioavailable liquid form that your plants can easily drink. The smaller the dust particles, the faster the microbes can eat them. This is not a fertilizer you have to apply every 2 weeks. Because rock dust breaks down slowly, one good application will continue feeding your soil biology and your plants for 3 to 5 years. Finally, here's where to get it free. Now for the secret I promised you at the beginning. If you go online right now and search for volcanic rock dust for gardens, boutique organic companies will happily sell you a tiny, shiny 5-pound box of it for $25. They put a fancy label on it and mark up the price by 1,000%. Do not buy it. Open Google Maps, search for gravel quarry, aggregate supplier, or stone yard near your house. These are the industrial yards that crush massive rocks into gravel for road construction and concrete. When they crush millions of tons of basalt or granite, a fine powder is created as a byproduct. It falls through the screens. The industry calls it crusher dust, rock dust screen, or quarry fines. To them, it is an annoying waste product that takes up space in their yards. To your garden, it is pure, unadulterated Scottish magic. Drive to your local quarry. Bring a couple of heavy-duty 5-gallon buckets. Ask the guy at the weigh station if you can shovel some crusher dust for your tomatoes. 9 times out of 10, they will look at you like you are crazy and tell you to take as much as you want for free. Even if they charge you, you can usually fill the entire back of a pickup truck for about $15. $15 for a lifetime supply of the exact trace minerals your soil has been begging for. If you're going to try this, let me know in the comments. And if you want to know the other forgotten fertilizer or how to remove weeds forever, click the video on your screen right now. I will see you there.